So hey everybody, this is Pastor Dave coming to you with Riding the Storm Out once again on a Friday night. You remember what Friday night means. Friday night means finding the helpers, meet the helpers. And just to explain that, as I do every single week, when Mr. Rogers was a little guy and things weren't going so well, he asked his mom, what do we do when things aren't going so well? How do I feel better? And she said, you know what? Look for the helpers, because they're always there. Oftentimes they're on the fringe, you don't see them, and they're doing things that make a difference. And so look for those people. So now for the last 9 weeks, you've been meeting some of the helpers here around Indianapolis. And tonight we are at 913sports, and we're looking forward to talking with Tom and hearing the story about what's going on here and what has changed in the midst of this COVID-19 pandemic change. So we're going to hear a story about 913sports. We're going to hear about who they are, what they're about, and what they're doing at this time. And it's a really cool story. I can't wait for you to hear it too. So everybody meet Tom. Mr. Tom.
Good evening. Thank you so much for coming out to our home here in the Near Northwest neighborhood that we've been located in for about the last 18 months.
Yeah. So tell us a little bit about 913sports.
Yeah, so in a traditional world, as I've been saying for the past 10 weeks or so, 913sports is an organization that uses the bicycle as an education tool. We work with schools and youth organizations in 9 counties all across central Indiana, and we have multiple programs. Those programs that actually get kids riding bikes as part of their PE class in a video game type format. Programs that teach kids how to work with tools, and they ultimately get to build their own bike and take it home with them, many of which have never had a bike before. Programs that get kids, adults, and families out on the pathways and the parks systems across Marion County. And we really try to be a supporting role for the great work educators, teachers, administrators are doing in the school districts all across central Indiana.
So you go into the schools with your bike, your equipment, your trucks?
Everything we do is designed to be turnkey. So we work with those teachers. In our Kids Riding Bikes program, which is our original flagship program, last year we served about 50,000 students across central Indiana with that program. We become part of their physical education class, part of their gym class. So it's a big bike video game for them. About 10% of them have never been on a bike before they come in. It's awesome to see those kids, whether they're 7 or whether they're 12, get to ride a bike for their very first time. It kind of brings back the memories of why I grew up riding. I'm sure why you get on a bike when you do. So our whole organization since 2012 has been built around going into schools, working alongside teachers, being part of their classroom experience during the school day. So needless to say, the last few months have been quite interesting, with schools very suddenly closing and us really being in a spot of how else can we help?
Yeah, I'm in the midst of writing a grant for myself. And one of the things I said in there's so few rites of passage these days that I have to think that the training wheels coming off is one of those, you know what I mean? And learning how to ride a bike and do it. So, schools close. Everything you do was rotating around the schools. So you close down, you don't do anything, right?
Yeah, that's like every other small organization. We've got a staff of 11. We've been very fortunate to grow from me launching this as a one-person shop in 2012 to 3 people to 5 people to where we're at now. And I've got an incredible team. They make what we do possible on a daily basis. They're as passionate about the programs and about serving Central Indiana as I am. And so in the space of hours, not even days, hours, we're getting word from our school liaisons, the superintendents we work alongside, that they were going to be announcing schools were closing. And we very quickly realized that we had a serious problem, because it was clear that this was not going to blow over quickly. And as the CEO for this organization, there's been 8 years, 9 years of blood, sweat, and tears to get to where we're at now. And I very quickly realized I was probably the most polar opposite decision-making process I was ever going to face as a leader, because my first job is to make sure the organization would survive. Right. My second job is to take care and protect the incredible staff that are like family to me, that make this happen on a daily basis. And I've never been in a situation as a leader where those two situations were as opposing as I was facing. So I went home. I watched staff walk out on a Friday in March, a week earlier than they were supposed to for our week-long spring break that we had scheduled. And I sat in my office and I cried. And I just had this overwhelming feeling that there were a number of staff that walked out that would never be walking through this door again. And so I spent the next day and a half, I think, feeling pretty sorry for myself, kind of the woe is me. And then something clicked, and I realized as I was trying to figure out what we could do, how I could justify keeping these incredible people as part of our organization, that we might not have a lot, but we have some vans and some trucks and trailers, and we have the bodies. And truly, from a leadership phone call on Monday morning, pitching this idea to the rest of my leadership team, to reaching out to a few of our contacts within Indianapolis that were connected with a lot of these organizations that were doing food service, food delivery, we realized there was a huge pain point. And that initial pain point was amazing organizations were stepping up and providing drive-through food pantries all across Indianapolis, all across central Indiana. Gleaners was helping supply all of those family meal boxes that were going into the cars and people were taking. But a lot of these organizations didn't have a vehicle big enough to be able to transport one skid of food. So we were hearing these stories of churches and community centers making 4, 5, 6 trips to Gleaners to be able to pick up enough food. Well, we've got vans. We can do that. And we very quickly mobilized. We started running bulk delivery services to these incredible agencies that were helping distribute the food. And then a few days after that, it became apparent there was a need for direct home delivery in partnership with the mayor's office and in partnership with Gleaners and Second Helpings. And so not only were we handling the bulk delivery for these agencies, we're actually taking food directly to residents' homes, their front doors, up to about 1,000 homes a week here in Marion County, for those residents that are considered high risk. Either they're COVID positive, or they're elderly, or they're immunocompromised, or they're pregnant, or doctors told them they shouldn't leave their home. Mm-hmm. And there was no way for them to seek that food support from their community center. So our team is putting about 8,000 miles a month driving around Indianapolis in our fleet of vehicles, taking food directly to the residents that need it most.
That is tremendous. That is tremendous. And I understand that the vehicles are named after cartoon characters, right?
Yeah, it's you've got to have some personality with everything, right? So I always joke that our 3 vans are some of our hardest working staff members, and they've definitely lived up to their reputation with that the past few months.
Speaking of which, during this time, if 10 is the amount of work that you guys were doing before this happened, on a scale of 1 to 10, where are you as far as working hard now?
It's different. In some ways, one of the blessings with this pandemic has been it's allowed, I think, all of us to reset. There were a lot of evenings I wasn't home for dinner. There were a lot of evenings I was at a happy hour meeting or meeting with a donor or a funder or a corporate partner or a philanthropic liaison. And so a lot of ways, I'm home by 4:30 most days now. It's incredible. So all those early weeks of learning the pivot, learning a new system, watching my staff just keep saying yes when we kept tossing more things at them. They kept stepping up day in and day out. Definitely stressful. Definitely felt like I was rebuilding a new organization almost overnight. But now, in some ways, the hours are different, but it's more consistent than it's ever been for an entrepreneur. And it's been nice to be able to step back a little bit and really be able to take in what not just this organization at 913sports has done, but how Indianapolis has rallied around one another. How, we talk about Hoosiers helping Hoosiers and community engagement and this, the biggest small city that exists, right? Everybody knows everybody. And it's been incredible to see. And it's been a great reminder of why I chose to call Indianapolis home 16 years ago, and all of these life events that have just kept me here and ultimately put this entire organization in a spot to be able to step up when we were needed.
I like the word you used. You used it earlier when we were talking beforehand. Pivot. A lot of people have had to make a pivot, yep. And some people have not really made that pivot. Some people are just like, well, we'll just can't wait till we get back, But it sounds like to me in the conversation you and I were having beforehand that the pivot is going to it's not only been a tremendous reward for you guys, but it's going to be part of who you guys are as you go forward.
I asked my staff over a video call in the week that we made this pivot, if they were comfortable with this, if they were willing to step up. I asked them all in a team setting, and then I followed up with them all each individually. And I said, look, we will find a way to keep you engaged with us if you're not comfortable with this. And I didn't know what I was going to hear from my staff. And it was amazing to hear them all say, I'm in. What do we need to do? We're part of this pivot. We'll make this happen. And so this has been a defining couple months for our organization, as it has been for our city and our country. But the life lessons we've learned from this, the new relationships we've been able to build, the appreciation for what we have, and the fact we're able to assist others that might not have as much, that will now be part of the thread work of our entire organization. And I can't tell you how excited I am to get back to bikes, but the reality is that we will be getting those programs, our normal programs, bike-focused programs, going on later this summer. Hopefully in early July we'll get those re-rolling. But I anticipate, one, that there will be a need for food delivery for the long haul here, probably for the rest of the year at least. And we're committed to being part of that solution for as long as it's needed.
So first of all, let me ask you this question. 913, where did the name come from?
It's my birthday, September 13th.
Pretty easy.
It's one of those things where I was 24 when I launched this organization, and I always like to say there's a little piece of me on every letterhead that goes out, every piece of branding, but it's pretty awesome to see, just the personal connection to what this is. So definitely my personal brand all over what we've been able to build.
Absolutely. So tell me about a response that you've had or somebody on your staff has told you. And by the way, thank you to your staff because they're stepping up too, But tell me about a response that somebody, when you delivered to a home, it's one that just blew you away.
So one of the really interesting things about the evolution of this is, we had to build this as basically a no contact delivery, right? So early on, that was especially apparent. We were basically, felt like, ring the doorbell and run, dig dog ditch, right?
Yeah.
But as the staff got more comfortable while still being respectful, always wearing masks, socially distancing, things like that, we've had these amazing through the door and through the window conversations. And whether it's the one that sticks out with me the most, that's bringing me to tears right now, is we had a request for an emergency delivery. So normally this food's going out within about 24 hours. Call on Tuesday, it's at your doorstep on Wednesday. But part of our relationship with Gleaners and Second Helpings and Indie Hunger Network is, if it's an emergency, we will get it to them. We will get it to them within a couple hours. And so we had a call. Our COO and myself actually handle what we call our quick response team, our QRT, so those same day deliveries. And showed up to a house, and we were told there were 7 individuals in there, and it's a direct relation between number and household and amount of food they get. So it's a fair bit of food, a week of food for 7 individuals we were taking. And there were these 5 kids that all had their face pressed up against the window, and straight out of a movie. I don't think I had even opened the door to my truck yet, and the most joyous scream of food, and you could hear the stampede coming down the stairs, waiting for us to be able to put those boxes on the porch. And then as I was walking back to my truck, watching the mom open the door and have the kids each carry one of the boxes of food. And for moments like that, it drives home why we're doing what we're doing and how incredible it is to be able to be a resource for somebody that many of us take for granted. I mean, food is this basic need and necessity, but there's always been food in my pantry. I was very privileged growing up. Something I didn't think twice about if there was going to be food at home. And so it's been something that has always been with me as I've worked with youth for the last 8 years in schools. Food insecurity, food access has been something that has always been part of the discussion, but to now be on the front lines with that has just been, will forever change how I approach everything I do personally, everything we do as an organization, because it is a driver in basic access to living.
Absolutely. So thankful. So thankful. Let me ask you one more thing.
Yeah.
So you shared about that day you were in your office and you were crying because you were caring about your staff and these people that you dearly love. They become your family, you know. And now that you're able to mobilize them and give them some rewarding things, you know, I think people draw closely together when we're doing rewarding work, you know. So a couple of things. How does it make you feel being able to serve the public this way, but also how does it make you feel as the CEO of this company to know that you were able to mobilize those folks?
You know, it goes back to I think a word I used earlier, which is that team, that camaraderie. And I didn't know if this is something any or all or some of my staff would be interested in even doing. And so I'm so proud of them because they all said yes, and they continue to say yes. I'm thrilled. I'm over the moon about the fact that we've been able to figure out a way to make this pivot and keep the staff. And you know, there's certainly been hard days. This isn't what any of them signed up for, but in a lot of ways, I can't even describe how proud I am of them. And they've represented our organization. They've represented our community, and they represented the exact values of why I wanted them on this team to begin with, whether they joined a year ago or 6 years ago. And so all of that coming together, I get to go home with a giant smile on my face every day, and I get to come into the office every morning with a giant smile on my face. It's just been incredible.
Wow. I appreciate it. Is there anything that anybody watching tonight or in the next few days when they watch this can do? Is there anything they can do to help you, help the food pantries?
Yeah.
Help the
Well, first and foremost, if you know anybody who needs food support, go ahead and call 317-742-9111. That will get them to the Indie Hunger Network screening system, and that is the system we directly interface with. So whether that's an individual directly or if they know somebody, please pass along the word, social media, whatever it may be. The more people that know about it, the more people that need it will be able to find out about it. Beyond that, please consider supporting Gleaners or Second Helpings directly through their website, or consider supporting 913sports through our website at 913sports.org. We can't wait to get back to the bike programs, and we'll certainly be able to put any support we receive towards those programs once they restart later this summer.
Excellent. Excellent. Anything else you want to add?
Thank you so much for coming out to our home. Thank you for all you're doing for the community. And I just can't thank Indianapolis enough for the culture that has allowed people to step up in others' times of needs. I'm really, I feel so fortunate.
Excellent. Well, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you for being one of the helpers, doing an awesome job. So everybody, that's your Friday night, Meet the Helpers. How can they get in touch with you?
Go ahead and reach out to us at info@913sports.org, and we look forward to hearing from you.
So I hope this was good for you guys tonight. If you like what you saw, tell other people to take a look at it and find out what's going on, and just be able to meet the helper and see what's happening. So thanks for checking in tonight, and we will talk to you later.